Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Karakuri Earth Machine test hands. I'm really excited. This is actually a Patreon request test hand video for Jin. Jin actually asked me to make a deck that could use the Karakuri package and Earth Machine package in the same particular deck, and it actually works absolutely insane. This deck never stops playing, and in all the time that I've been playing this deck, which has been a while, this deck actually never bricks. It is an amazing deck, and it has so many different combo starters that I'm going to show you guys in this particular video, and it has so many combos in this particular deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, just like Jin did, like getting your name in the description for a single video, getting a signed card in the mail, and even getting your requested deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this one, and definitely give Jin some love down in the comments down below. So before we get into this guys, I'm actually going to show off some of the starter plays, just in case we don't get to them all in this particular video, because like I said, this deck does combo a lot, and so the combos might take a minute to actually show you guys in boards and what the deck can actually do. So let's go ahead and show you guys a couple of the 2-card combos in this particular deck. So your Karakuri Merchant is actually going to be one of the very first plays in the entire deck that you can actually do, and it will actually search a Karakuri from the deck, and you guys will hear all this probably in the deck profile as well, but it will actually search the other level 5 Karakuri, and this will actually end up with a copy of Beret, which will get you into your plays in the particular deck in the Synchro line. So basically you use these two monsters to go into your Beret, and then you start comboing off with this line right here. Then you have cards like copies of Brutal Dozer that just by attributing any normal summon that you have in the deck, you can then special summon this card from your hand, which then will in turn lead you down the XZ path, but this card can actually be searched with Heavy Forward, which will get you more plays. So as long as you open up any of these cards, you have more plays in the deck. We then play Metal Cruncher as well. Metal Cruncher is a card that will search either of these two cards out of the deck, depending on which way you want to go. Usually you're going to want to go for the Brutal Dozer at this point, because then you can actually tribute the copy of Metal Cruncher to special summon out the Brutal Dozer, and then special out another level 5 from the deck and go into more plays. Redeployment is actually a great searcher in the deck, because it will actually grab these out of your deck along with a copy of Overdrive, which is really helpful, which in turn will start leading you into your Train package, which is really cool, where you can actually use rank 10 machines in the deck. For example, using cards like your Express Train, using cards like Citadel, and even using cards like your Decacrane to go into any rank 10 Earth Machine that you might want to go into as well. So you have all these different lines to go into all sorts of different amazing plays in this particular deck. So let's go ahead and show you guys some really awesome combos in this particular deck. We're going to really quickly pile shuffle the deck, but that's basically the general concept of the deck if you broke it down into the way that the deck plays. And it's really important to keep that in mind as you play through this deck. And those lines can interchange, they can cross, where you can go into different plays in this particular deck and go into some really amazing, crazy strategies. Again, as I've been playing this deck, I have never bricked with it, which is just insane. Maybe this video will be the first time I actually do, because as you guys know, I just record these, shuffle up the deck, and show you guys what we can do in the knowledge that I have with the deck, which is kind of cool. I like to do it this way to show you the real plays of the deck, not anything that's like lined up or anything like that normally, unless it's something oddly specific that I don't get to draw out. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with our first test hand. Again, this might take a second to actually do a particular test hand, so you might want to get some popcorn and something to drink and relax. Kick back your feet and watch me play Earth Machine. So here we go, guys. So for our first play, we're going to draw into a copy of the Kawaii Robot, a copy of the Machina Fortress, your copy of Monster Reborn, Redeployment, and a copy of Gearbox. Now, Gearbox is a card you don't want to actually add to hand, because your Ancient Gear Ballista in the extra deck will actually search this card. This card's not the greatest to actually have, but we can get to a Metal Cruncher, so we're fine. So you have plenty of plays with your Redeployment. So we're actually going to use the copy of Redeployment, and I always discard my copy of Fortress, because then it will let me grab 2 of my Machina cards from the deck, which is going to help me out a lot. So we're going to go ahead and discard these 2 to the graveyard, and now we're going to search from the deck a copy of Metal Cruncher, and we're going to search a copy of Overdrive. As long as you discard another Machina card, you can add any of the cards that are Machinas from the deck to the hand. If you only discard a regular card, you can only add monsters, which is why I chose to discard that particular card, because I didn't want to add the Citadel from deck to hand. I want to go ahead and have the Overdrive in hand instead, so I can still keep playing. So now that you've done that, we're going to go ahead and normal summon out that copy of Metal Cruncher. I'm going to just use my back row as my hand, because this is going to be a lot of different plays in the monster zone, but not so much in the back row. we're going to actually reveal 3 copies of Brutal Dozer, which is our first kind of play for this particular deck, that we're just going to reveal all 3 of our Brutal Dozers for this particular play, and we're going to grab one of those Brutal Dozers from deck to hand, because it just reveals, it's kind of like a Cosmo Tin Can, that you can basically just immediately activate. And you guys might be wondering, how did I normal summon that level 9 monster in my field? Well, it actually has a unique effect that if you control no face-up cards, you can normal summon this card without treating, but its original attack becomes 1800. So we're going to just use a dice to actually symbolize that its life, or that its attack points are not what it normally is, but it's not going to be on the field very long at all, which is important to keep in mind. So it's actually not going to stay at that 1800, because we're just going to get rid of it right now. So once that card leaves the field, we're then going to special summon out the copy of the Brutal Dozer for effect. Then we're going to use the copy of Brutal Dozer to actually bring out a copy of Tunneler. Tunneler is going to be a really helpful play in this particular build, because you're actually going to use both of these monsters to overlay on your side of the field. I just start making it from left to right usually when I play this. We then going to summon a copy of Riverstormer. Riverstormer will actually let us detach a material from it, and I always want to detach that copy of Tunneler to then search the deck for a copy of a monster. Now, you can add any Earth Machine monster from your deck to your hand. Now, depending on what you have, depends on what you grab with this particular play. You can set up for the following turn if you'd like to. I usually do like to go ahead and just set up for my next turn, which is why I usually grab the copy of Merchant from deck to hand, because I already have the Overdrive in the back row. I already have a copy of the Kawaii Robot to set up for an additional normal summon, and the Overdrive is just going to be able to get rid of the Riverstormer to go into more plays. You have other plays that you can go into. You could grab a Trencher and go deeper into the build where you wanted to with the Tunneler, or you could just kind of go, whoa, wait a minute, let's just stop there and let's go into the next turn with a little bit more of a setup that we can actually pull out, because this deck does really good going first, and then it kind of goes in on turn 3 and just kind of summons some insane stuff. So we're going to go ahead and set the copy of our card, which is going to help us out a lot. You can actually link this card away, which is super helpful to go into a copy of Goliath. Now, Goliath can actually tribute itself to bring this card back, which is going to help us out, and then attach itself as a material. So we're just going to move this card over here into defense position, which is going to help us out a lot, and it's going to fill up the graveyard with even more Earth Machines. Now, we have not summoned this card properly at all. You can, if you'd like to, go ahead and summon this card to go into a link play, or we can just go, hey, that's cool. We already have the Gearbox in hand, so we're just going to wait and not worry about it. So once we pass turn, our opponent is going to probably try and out this card, but we do have a play that you can actually do where you can use the copy of our Overdrive if you want to. Now, if you want to have a monster for the Citadel to actually be able to get rid of, you can use the copy of Monster Reborn to bring back your copy of Fortress this turn, which is a big play to actually do before you pass turn. Before we pass turn, use the copy of Monster Reborn, get this card back on your side of the field, just so you can have an additional monster, because you don't have the levels in hand that you want to discard for this particular card to bring it back to field, but you did need to discard it to grab the copy of your Overdrive. So what we're going to do now is during our opponent's turn, we're actually going to use the copy of our Overdrive. Overdrive is going to be able to tribute this card, or target this card and destroy it, and when we do, you can actually special summon out from the deck a copy of your Citadel. So Citadel will touch the field, and this will actually go to Graveyard, which is going to be pretty helpful to be able to do, because your Citadel can actually wipe a board, because it has a quick effect to be able to target one machine monster you control and destroy monsters, and all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card. So this card is a mid-turn disruption as well, which is pretty helpful for this particular play, that it can actually out your opponent's entire board just by getting rid of the fortress on their side, on your side of the field. Now, if you don't summon anything that's going to be particularly going to hurt you against this particular hand, you can just leave this card on the field. But for conversation's sake, let's go ahead and say that we do blow board for everything that has 2,500 or less. Once we go into our next turn, we're going to draw, and this is where the fun begins. So we're going to just normal summon out our copy of our Karakuri monster, and then normal summon out our copy of our Merchant, because this gives us an additional normal summon. I'm going to go ahead and put this on it so we remember that this was our additional normal summon, and we've already used it. Now this will actually let us search our copy of Bones. Now Bones will actually have the ability that you can change the battle position of a monster and special summon this card from your hand, but it becomes a tuner monster. So this is now a tuner monster, so we can actually use it with our copy of our Merchant to go into a 7, and here is where it starts getting crazy. So now you can go into a copy of Beret. Beret will actually let us special summon from our deck another monster, which we're going to special summon out from the deck a copy of our Gamma. So Gamma will get us another play in this particular deck. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. We only actually play one Beret in this particular deck because it's just your first turn play with your copy of your Merchant. So then we're going to synchro these two together because the Beret will let us special summon that monster to our field. Then we're going to special summon out a copy of our Shogun to our side of the field, the Steel Shogun. Steel Shogun will use its effect, and this time, instead of summoning out a copy of your Beret, you're actually going to summon out, or a copy of your Gamma, you're actually going to special summon out a copy of Bones, because it doesn't care if it's a level 5 or a level 1. It just summons a Karakuri. Now, this is actually a tuner monster, so we can actually use these two monsters on the field to go into another copy of our Beret, or our copy of our monster, which is going to be super helpful just to get out that monster on our side of the field. And then we're going to special summon out from the deck another monster, which is actually going to be our Karakuri Strategist. You only play this card as a 1-of in this particular deck because it does help to just play it as a 1-of, because when it's summoned, it can actually change the battle position of a monster, and then you get to draw 2, which is pretty helpful. You can go for 3 sometimes, but usually I just go for 2. It depends on the particular play that you have set up that you can want to go for. So this card is actually going to let us draw 2 because it's going to change his battle position, and then both of these cards are going to go off, which we're going to put dice on top of them to represent that we've gotten our draw out of them. We're going to get a heavy forward and a super express train. Really good searches out of that. And then you can actually use, if you'd like to, you can use the cards in the graveyard to actually help you out, like the copy of Fortress, or you can use your copy of your Tunneler to shuffle some cards back into the deck. It kind of depends on what you want to go for in your particular plays. You can special summon this card out to your side of the field, and then use this and your Citadel to overlay into another play if you'd like to. Move these cards right up here, and then you can overlay into a copy of Gustav Max, detach a material from the Gustav Max, and then do 2,000 damage to your opponent, and then immediately go into a Libby on top of that card, which is going to help out a lot just to get you a Libby on your side of the field as well, which is going to have a lot of attack points. It just helps out the deck a lot. Use that copy of Heavy Forward just to kind of get cards out of the deck. I'm going to go ahead and search a copy for a next turn play. You can search a copy of your Brutal Dozer, or you can actually search from the deck another copy of your Trencher. But Brutal Dozer is probably going to be your best play because you can actually use the copy of Brutal Dozer with your copy of Strategist. So that would get you a lot of different advantage because you haven't used Brutal Dozer this turn, you used it last turn. So we're going to go ahead and tribute this monster on our field. Special summon out that copy of Brutal Dozer. The Brutal Dozer, well, actually, I would summon this down here. Don't summon that up there because you won't want to block your link zone. Summon this card right here. Use the copy of Brutal Dozer on your side of the field, tribute it, and then summon out your copy of your Trencher. Now you've got Trencher on the field over here. And then now, if you want to link summon, you can, but you're like, oh man, where's all my cards? They're all in the graveyard. What am I going to do? Where'd they all go? Well, guess what? We're going to get them back. That's not a problem. You can actually use in your graveyard your copy of your Infinitrack Tunneler to actually banish this card, target 5 in your graveyard, and put them back in the deck. So we're actually going to put back our copy of our Beret. We're going to put back our copy of our Merchant, Bones, a copy of River Stormer, and even a copy of Brutal Dozer, just in case you want to get that card back. We're going to put all of these cards back in their respective places, and then we're going to shuffle the deck and draw 2, which is going to get us even more play. So we're just going to shuffle up the deck really quick and draw 2 cards off the top of the deck. So now that we draw 1 and we draw 2, we got a Cash In and a Gamma Ol, which is going to get us even more plays in this particular hand, which is super helpful. Then we're going to use the copy of our... You can, if you'd like to, go ahead and use the copy of your Fortress if you'd like to. Actually, you have these monsters on the field. You can kind of get them out of the way if you want to. You can use your copy of your Trencher and your Dozer to link these two together if you'd like to, into a copy of your... You can actually link them into a Ballista if you didn't have this in hand to get you another search. You can link them into the Anger Knuckler if you'd like to, or you can link them just into a Goliath if you'd like to link them into a Goliath, or you can overlay them into a River Stormer, which is the best play to start with. Go ahead and detach that material off the River Stormer, And then once you do that, you're going to get a search out of the deck of another Earth Machine monster, which can be a copy of Decacrane if you want to grab that Decacrane, which will just get you an additional monster on your side of the field. As you guys can see, this deck just keeps going and going. And the only problem is you start running out of zones to actually go in for more plays. That's the only big problem with this particular deck, is that you run out of zones. You literally just run out of zones to actually summon, which is the problem. So we're going to go ahead and just put that down. I searched a copy of the Decacrane. At this point, you can actually use the copy of the Gamma Ol to bring back your copy of your Frog back from the graveyard. And then you can go ahead and synchro summon these two together to go in for a copy of your Barebu. So Barebu is actually going to use its effect, which will revive from the, or summon from the deck, another copy of a Karakuri, which will summon this. Then you can go ahead and use these two and synchro summon again into another copy of the Barebu, which is super helpful to go into a second Barebu. And then this card will actually let you special summon another card from the deck, which will actually special summon out a copy of, I just probably summon at this point a Bones, because Bones is going to help us out the most, just to get us another monster on the field. And then your Gamma Ol will actually go to graveyard, because it will just go away. And then at this point, if you want to OTK, you can. If you want to go ahead and overlay both of these, you can do that too. Or if you want to banish cards on your opponent's side of the field, you can actually use these monsters' effects, because they have the ability that once per turn, if the battle position of a face-up Karakuri Monsoon control is changed, then you can target a card your opponent controls and banish it. So you can actually use the effect of your Toad in graveyard to banish the Toad, and then switch this to defense position. And then both of these will actually banish cards on your opponent's side of the field, which is just a little ridiculous to actually do that. Now you can actually set this card on your side of the field. And then at this point, if you'd like to, you can actually make a little bit more damage if you want to. You can actually link this away if you want to link this away and summon out a copy of... Actually, I can make another copy of another... I can make the number 81. You can actually do that if you want to summon out the copy of the number 81. You can link away these two off the field, summon out your copy of your Anger Knuckler up here, and then the Anger Knuckler will be summoned. Your copy of your Decacrane will summon to field, and then the copy of your Anger Knuckler will have the ability that during the main phase quick effect, you can send a monster or hand to the graveyard and then target one level 10 or rank 10 in your graveyard, or level 10 Earth Machine, excuse me, and special summon it back. So we're going to go ahead and send that copy of the Ancient Gear box to the graveyard, and then we're going to special summon back our copy of our Train to our side of the field, overlay both of these right here, and special summon out your copy of your Super Dora onto your side of the field. And then you now have the ultimate field that's going to get you every single Earth Machine that you could ever possibly want. Now, I wouldn't recommend overlaying both of these, because it would actually turn off, if your opponent survives this turn, it would actually turn off the cash in. But as you guys can see, you pretty much, like, you're gonna win, okay? Like, there's no plan. You got like 6,000 damage, you got 6k, and then you got 10k, and then 1312, and then you, or 13,200, and then you've got 14,700 damage on board. And I can even make it more if I wanted to, because I have this in the graveyard. So let's go ahead and just shuffle in with the overdrive and use the overdrive to put these two back into deck just in case, and the copy of our Ancient Gearbox so we can actually get a search, because there's nothing really in the graveyard that I absolutely need. But if I draw any Earth Machine monster that's a level 5, I'm going to get that copy of the Fortress out of the graveyard, and I'm going to get Special Summon as well, which is going to help me out a lot. So we're just going to shuffle up the deck really quick and see what we can grab. So we're going to go ahead and draw. We're going to draw into a copy of the Merchant. And then you also have in the graveyard the copy of Trencher that has the ability that basically you can then target a level 5. You can Magic Scarf in the graveyard and then target one level 5 or lower Infinitrack monster in your graveyard, except a Trencher, and special summon it. So we're going to go ahead and banish this card out of the graveyard, and we can special summon back our copy of our Brutal Dozer back to our side of the field. If you want to grab that copy of Brutal Dozer, which is going to help you out a lot just to get you another monster. It doesn't care if it's attack or defense, but we're just going to special summon that copy of Brutal Dozer, and we get even more damage on board, which is just ridiculous, the amount of damage that you can actually put out with this deck. So, yeah. That's a lot. That is a lot of damage that you actually just did. That actually took me like 15 minutes to do that one test hand. I'm going to do a couple of quick, as we used to do, draw test hands and just show you guys. Every single hand usually ends up like this on turn 3, just to tell you guys. It's ridiculous how much this deck can actually put out and the combos that it actually can pull off, and how easy it is. Now, first turn, it's a little bit slower. You kind of got to like hold back a little bit. You could benefit from a couple of traps, maybe some solemn strikes in this particular deck, or some solemn judgments to kind of like stop your opponent a little bit. And I've thought about putting those in here, but there's just so many combo pieces. It's just so helpful to be able to play the deck like this. So that's pretty much your final board for the ideal. That's not even an ideal hand. That's just like a really decent hand for this particular deck. So let's go ahead and do a couple of draw hands, and I'll show you guys how this deck never bricks, because this deck is just ridiculous, the amount of plays that it can actually pull off. And that is just absolutely crazy that you can actually pretty much, at this point, I had 5 cards left in my extra deck, and I could have made another one to break my opponent's board if I needed to summon the Earth Slicer as well. I could have even summoned the copy of my Ballista if I needed to get another search, to get out another monster. So you could have kept going. Like, this deck doesn't stop. Like, it does not stop, which is like it's like running with a V8 in a deck. Like, this deck will not stop, and it is so good. It's no surprise that Earth Machine is a tier 2 deck currently. I'm surprised with a little bit more support, this deck would not be a tier 1 deck, because this deck is just absolutely crazy. If it could establish a couple of more negates, it would be even worse of a deck, like even crazier. But let's go ahead and just show you guys really quickly a couple of draw test hands. So we're just going to show you guys the plays that you could get in this particular deck to show you guys it will not brick. So we're just going to shuffle it up, because the deck is still thoroughly mixed up from that last test hand, but we're just going to give it a couple of quick shuffles like this, cut the deck, and then let's see what we get. So we're going to draw into a copy of the Kawaii Robot, a copy of Strategist, the Fortress, Redeployment, and a copy of Merchant. So you're already fine. You have 2 big plays in this hand. You have this that can grab you the copy of the Metal Cruncher and the Overdrive, and then this can grab you the copy of Bones. Or you can normal summon out this, and then normal summon out this, and it will get you Bones, and then you can go into the synchro plays that I did in turn 2, as I displayed to you guys before. Or you can just grab the copy of your Metal Cruncher and search the Brutal Dozer with this particular hand as well. So you have plenty of plays in this particular hand as well. You actually have 2 starters to go into. You can even bait the Ash with this and then summon this and go into your particular plays, which is pretty ridiculous that you can just play through all sorts of negates. This deck can really play through like 3 negates and it doesn't even care, like 2 to 3, and it doesn't even care about it, and then it can still keep going. So let's go ahead and show you guys another one, because this deck, like I said, it just keeps going. It will not stop. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. So we're going to go and draw. We're already fine. We have a Metal Cruncher. You can grab Brutal Dozer. We draw into a Monster Born. That makes an Extender, Redeployment, a copy of Heavy Fort. We already got the Brutal Dozer right there, so you don't even have to search it off of this. You can actually search your Merchant if you want to off of this, and the Kawaii Robot. So you have, again, you can just use this, grab the copy of the Fortress this time, or Metal Cruncher. It depends on which one you need, but you already have the Metal Cruncher in hand. But I probably grab Fortress and Redeployment. You can grab your copy of your Brutal Dozer here. You can grab your copy of your Brutal Dozer and then Tribute off of this. You can grab Merchant off of this if you choose to normal summon this. So you have XZ plays going this way, and you have the Merchant that you can grab off of this as well. So you have you have so many different plays with these hands. Like, it's just ridiculous the amount of plays that you can actually go into. I was playing on stream in StaringAtGames with this. If you guys have not checked out StaringAtGames, you definitely should, down in the description below. It's our gaming channel. But I was actually playing on stream with this deck when we have Yu-Gi-Oh nights over there, where you guys can come duel against me and Todd and Savannah and some of the other players in the community. And I was playing this deck, and the problem was with it is that I ran out of time in turns. Like, this deck can just keep going in particular turns. So let's draw one more and show you guys one more. We're already fine. We have Metal Cruncher. You can search a copy of your Brutal Dozer. This is going to get you even more plays. You can ditch this for another Metal Cruncher, and the Citadel is the only thing you don't want to draw into, but it's still okay. You can still go into it pretty easily because you just ditch it to the graveyard. So I think that pretty much shows the potential and potency of this this deck. Like, this deck is ridiculously potent, and I love the way that it actually plays. And if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description down below. It is absolutely crazy, and it's just so fun. Like, this deck is so fun to be able to play with, and it's a deck that I could actually see myself regularly playing with as Earth Machine. And I might actually do a regular Earth Machine without the Karakuris in it, but the Karakuris actually help it out a lot because you have so many ridiculous plays with the Karakuris. If you guys want to see me do an Earth Machine deck as well, just a plain one, let me know down in the comments down below. But anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below, and definitely give Jin some love for requesting this one. I'm really glad that Jin actually did request this one, because this one was a blast to make and a blast to play as well. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.